What's going on, and welcome back. Young Reece, Dejavu, part deuce time. All right, you're here because you want to learn mixing, mastering, production, music business. That's what this channel is about. Radium podcast, music business, industry stuff. We got Too Short on there. We got Adam 22. We got a bunch of different people in the industry, A&R, music managers, all sorts of people. So make sure to check out the podcast, the Radium podcast. Also, we have Plugin of the Week, where we go through our favorite plugins and we drop knowledge on all these plugins, what we do, how we like to tweak them, etc. But today, we're getting back into it. We're getting into part 2 of Young Reece's track, Dejavu, breaking down the vocals. This is all about vocals. That's all I'm going to talk about here, okay? I'm going to get into the plugins. I'm going to get into the processing. I'm going to get into the stuff. So if you guys like this stuff, right away, give me a thumbs up on the video. Drop a comment. Subscribe to the channel. I mean, you have nothing to lose. We're just going to keep giving you game. So hopefully you're here to learn, or you're here because you just want to maybe get a little tip or a trick, or maybe you don't mix and master and you want to get into mixing and mastering. Maybe your vocals suck and you can't get them to sound good and can't get them to cut, can't get your beats to hit. Go back to part 1 of breaking down the mix of Dejavu. I've broken down the drums, the 808s, the routing, everything I'm doing in the mastering chain, everything. And now part 2 is all about vocals. So welcome. I don't know who's in here, but if you're here, you're gonna get it. All right, so let's get right into it. I'm going to go to my desktop here, and let's get into this session. All right, so here we are, Pro Tools. I don't know if you guys like Pro Tools, who uses Pro Tools. Anyone in here use Pro Tools? Give me a sign. I use Logic as well for mixing and mastering and producing and composing. Pro Tools is kind of like a go-to for audio editing and audio mixing. There we go. Chase the Connect is in the house. You're always here, bro. This guy's down to learn. He wants to learn. He's hungry. I like that. We need hungry people in this industry, for sure. A lot going on right now. Black Lives Matter. I'm all for it. I stand for it. Straight up, we got to stop the police brutality. I want to say that straight up right now, right here, because that is the most important thing going on. It is not seeing these vocals being mixed, but I got to give you guys something, because this is what it is. This is my business. I got to run it still, but you know, you guys, please stop being racist. Stop killing black people. It's getting ridiculous. Like, for real, for real. And show support in AACP. There's some other foundations and organizations that you can donate to. Highly recommend them. And I'll pop them in the description as well, because I think that's a big deal. What's up, Max Payne? How you doing, bro? All right, we got Brett. What's up? All right, we got some people in here. Okay, so we're getting right into the vocals here. So the first thing I want to say to you guys, as far as like being a mixing engineer and a producer and a composer and a recording engineer for, you know, over 15 years, I really am just going to put my stank on shit. I want this to sound the way I want it to sound. I'm going to go edgy. I want my imprint, my mix. I want my art in there. And I want the artist, I want the manager, I want someone else, the label, to back me off a little bit. Okay? I'm okay with that. That's what I go for. I'm like, this is how I think it should sound, and this is what I envision. And you guys tell me, oh, yeah, I want it a little more natural, it's a little overprocessed, or whatever. Fine. I'm into it. You know, this is a partly service business, but it's also a huge art. And for me, I am into the art. So I always go for stuff. I want it to be edgy. I want it to be edgy, edgy, edgy. I want someone to hear my mix and go, that's a Bradley mix. Okay? So that's why these vocals are cutty. They're saturated. I love it. I think a lot of the times as artists, before I get into all this stuff, I just want to drop a little bit of this stuff. As artists, we start to get on our own, you know, dick, whatever you want to call it. Like, we start to ride our own ego. We like to think that we're a big deal, and we want our vocals to sound how we heard them in the reference, because we get temp love all the time. We think what we did at the first time, you know, whatever we wrote the first time was super dope. But I'm telling you, the greatest of the greatest artists in the entire world are great actors. Drake can get on the microphone and act. He will edit. He will take more takes and cuts and all that stuff. Don't think these guys are just jumping on and doing one takes and going, yeah, okay. I mean, Kendrick Lamar, come on, you guys. He spends hours and hours and hours and hours getting the right vocal takes and getting the right performance, okay? So as a mixing engineer, sometimes the artist isn't giving me what I think is a great performance. It's not an all-star performance. It's not a Denzel Washington performance. It's not a Drake performance. So I got to try and put the edge in there, put some excitement into it, because a lot of the times as artists, we sit with our own art. We don't have any sort of reference point, and we think that it sounds a lot better than it does. That being said, my job is to make it sound radio ready, cutting edge, awesome, big, loud, and proud, and cutty, and amazing. All right, so that's my job as a mixing engineer. So I take it very seriously, and I love it. It's creative. So I'm painting. Here's the colors, right? So first thing I'm going to show you guys is I'm going to show you the routing for the vocals. This is very typical of my routing scheme. I do it every time. If you guys have any questions throughout this, just drop them in the comments. All right. So the routing goes to the vocal mix. All the vocals usually go to a vocal mix bus unless I want to take them somewhere else. The vocal mix bus will then go to an all vocals. So this vocal mix bus here is going to be a Pro Q3. Okay, this is the overall vocals. All the vocals are getting this treatment, right? I'm taking out some like, you know, really boomy stuff at 270. It's just a little too punchy, a little too like, you know, a little woofy stuff. 450, a lot of boxy, weird stuff, some nasal. And then right here, I'm grabbing, this is actually in dynamic mode. I'm grabbing a little bit of that 2K because I find that a lot of rappers overdo the 2K. They go crazy with it. They want their vocal to cut. They don't know how to use saturation. So they just boost 2K or 3K. They push it out there, right, with the EQ. It's not the way to do it. I'll show you how to do it instead. All right, so 6K here. I just dipped a little bit of that. Obviously, every vocalist is going to have their little peaky stuff that's really annoying. Just the way it is. And then I'm taking everything out under 113 because he's got a high voice. And this track kind of brings him up, right? Okay, and then I got the FG Mu. This is kind of like a very, I'm sorry, not the FG Mu, the FG Gray. This is like an SSL, okay? So this is hitting everything. The attack is very fast, but I am mixing it. So this is parallel, 54%. And I will show you guys all this stuff and I'll let you listen, of course. Here's the Soothe 2. I'm, again, going in here and finding like some sibilance and also some like really squeaky shit up here at 8K. All right, and I'm just like taking it down a little bit, softening it out. And then EQ P1A, amazing. Just running through this is going to give your vocals a lot more three-dimension, okay? So here I'm boosting and attenuating at 30 hertz. I find this gives me a really great body, like a sub-frequency body, probably right around 90 hertz or so for the vocal. It's amazing. And then I got some top here, some 12K. I'm boosting a little bit. I'm attenuating, which is basically taking that curve. Like if you're boosting 12K, it's going like this. Then when you attenuate, it comes in and it like changes the curve, okay? Like bends the curve. That's what a Pultec does. That's why it's so musical. It's also kind of its feature, but it's a tube EQ as well, so it's beautiful. All right, and then that bus goes to the all vox. And the all vox is just so I can control, you know, muting, unmuting, and then that all vox goes to master augs. And the master augs is here, and I showed you my whole master chain and what I'm doing with it in part 1 of this mixing series, so go back to that, okay? Now I'm just going to play the vocal from the verse so you guys can kind of hear that and hear what I went for. Really go for like an all-star cutty kind of vocal, and we're going to focus on the lead right now. So I'm muting my microphone. Here it is.
If I was in your place, I'd try me too. Pull up on a couple like my name Lou. Doing so much, feel like Dejavu. Wrist stay wet, ain't nothing new. House on the hills, panoramic on the view. Pull up with a couple like my name Lou. Doing so much, feel like Dejavu. I'ma need a check if I go out. Mortgage on my neck, gotta show out. She talk too much, keep the whole out. Diamonds still shine when the lights out. Spin a nice piece on these frames. You only drop the top when it's nice out. I just took a trip out of Spain. Feeling like Kobe in the pain. Stay wet like a lake. Too much gas propane. Hood nigga like Lil Man. Ain't no bust down plain Jane. Whole stay sprung T-Pain. Throw the money up, it's rain. Fucking on what's her name. Yeah. Cartier frames, I see you.
All right, so beautiful, right? Really cool, kind of vibey. Got a vibe to it. Real cool. But I feel like when I heard the reference, I was like, yo, this sounds so boring. I'm so bored right now, right? So here's the original mix just to show you kind of the vocal difference and just like how kind of flat everything is. It just doesn't pop out of you. It doesn't jump out of speakers. So I'm going to show you that. I mean, you guys form your own opinion, but here's the original mix reference. This is like just the recording and a basic mix, just so you know.
Cartier frames, I see you. If I was in your place, I'd try me too. Pull up with a couple like my name Lou. Doing so much, feel like deja vu. Rich stay where it ain't nothing new. House on the hills, panoramic on the view. Pull up with a couple like my name Lou. Doing so much, feel like deja vu. I'ma need a check if I go out. Mortgage on my neck, gotta show out. She talk too much, keep the hoe out.
So right away for me, that's just boring. I'm just bored. Like, I'm like, whoa, that performance is like, it's really nasally. That was like the first thing I noticed. So since then, the process kind of goes, Kevin's going to take it, run it through some outboard stuff, usually like a GML outboard EQ, find those little nasal points, sweep out some of that crap. And then he'll maybe run it through like an LA3A, you know, maybe some API, you know, do some EQing and some compression, really. Just like clean it up, get some, kind of make it a great vocal, like it sounds like it just got recorded really, really well. Get rid of any problems. So that was really nasally. Another thing, like when he goes to Dejavu, like that just doesn't sound exciting. So for me, I was like, yo, I gotta make this exciting. And of course, artists, they just get into their like, oh man, I've heard this so many times, that's how I like it. But it's like, you guys got to be really careful because you start to get temp love and you release something that you've heard a million times when it could be a million times better, right? Because the audience is going to hear it for the first time. So you got to sound like a superstar. So that was the whole plan with this vocal, is just to make him sound like a superstar, okay? Even if he's not, even if people like, yeah, people know young Reece, but you know, he's not Drake, you know, he's not a huge artist. So we got to make sure that he sounds like a huge artist is the idea. So here on the lead vocal, again, this is where I'm going for that nasal stuff. And I'm taking out a lot of that like congestion. Okay. 417. Now, a lot of the times I think about my EQ, my compressors, this whole chain, I think of this chain as one piece of gear. Okay. So it's all kind of like feeding, like I find the sweet spot of each piece of it. And then I'm going to like kind of adjust as I go. I don't think of it as like EQ, now I need to compress, now I need to EQ again, now I need to RVOX, now I need to CL vocals, now I need to Pro Q3, now I need to, I don't think like that. I think like this is a big like mastering console or a chain or a console, right? And everything's running through it and everything's affecting everything. And if you start thinking like that as a mixing engineer, you're just going to come with better mixes. And of course, it's going to the vocal mix bus, which then has more processing on it. So it's really important that I'm shaping things for the next thing, okay? And then that vocal mix bus goes to all Vox, and then it goes to the master augs, which is then shaping things even further. So the Pro Q3 is really sweeping out a lot of the crap that I didn't like in the vocal. It cleans it up. I'll kind of show you A, B, what that is doing, and it'll make everything collapse, of course. You're going to find like, wow, that EQ is super transparent. So a lot of this, what it's doing is it's saving me some voltage, right? So 5 dB cut at 417, you can barely hear it. But when he gets those really loud points, you hear distortion in the vocal because this 417, I'm saving so much. And also sweeping all this out, I'm saving so much voltage from hitting the next stage and then overdoing the compressor, overdriving something, right? So gain staging is really important. Again, 2.9, so like right around 3K. I'm just bringing that down 2 dB. And then I'm just bringing up a little bit of sheen at 13,000, right? So that's like 0.3 dB. 0.3 of a dB up. And then I'm just sweeping out everything. I'm always sweeping everything out, trying to save voltage. Now, R comp, love it. 1.96 on the ratio because I really just wanted it to kind of like tickle some stuff, right? Just kind of like, I want to keep the vibe of the vocal. I don't want to over compress it. I do want it to sound driven a little bit. So this is just kind of controlling stuff, and I'll show you what it's doing here.
Doing so much, feel like deja vu. Wrist stay wet, ain't nothing new. House on the hills, panoramic on the view. Pull up with a couple like my name Lou. Doing so much, feel like deja vu. I'ma need a check if I go out. Mortgage on my neck, gotta show out. She talk too much, keep the hoe out. Diamonds still shine when the lights out. Spin a nice piece on these frames.
Okay, just like controlling, bringing up the gain a little bit so you don't lose stuff. Like he doesn't, you know. So we're really just kind of like keeping them solid, foundation right in front. You guys liking this stuff? Is this helpful? Give me some thumbs up. Show some love. I want to see that you guys are alive in here, right? Because this stuff's deep. Going into mixing is deep. It can get boring, but if you're paying attention and you want to make better mixes and this is helpful, give me some thumbs up. Give me some love. All right, then we're going to go to the Pro Q3 again. And what am I doing again? I'm taking out more 400. Why? Because sometimes when you go into an EQ and you cut out 400 and then you compress, thank you, Chase. Appreciate you, bro. It's like people just expect you to just give them all the keys for free and not even a thumbs up. I'm going to be over here all crying and shit. Thanks, Oliver. Appreciate you, bro. Brett, thanks for the yup. All right, so 417, you start taking things down, but then you compress and you start bringing gain up again. You're basically carving, and then you're bringing that carving back up, right? It's the way compressors work. You have a threshold, you bring gain reduction down on the high stuff, right? And then you bring the lower level stuff up when you bring this gain up, okay? So we're actually bringing that 400 hertz here, we're bringing it back up probably a couple dB, maybe 2-3 dB, okay? So then we compress, then what do we got to do again? We got to get rid of it again, okay? Super important, you're shaping the vocal as you go. So that's the idea, okay? And then I'm carving that out again, and you can see I put a little bit of a boost at 144, give them some body, and then 5K, I really tend to like 5K in a vocal. I like 5K. Sometimes I like a little bit of 3K to make it cut, make it kind of stand out if it needs it. But like I said, I don't usually push with an EQ on the 3K. I used to do that when I was like not really understanding harmonics and how to saturate and how to get things to pop out using compression, etc. So you don't need to use EQ a lot for boosting. And if you guys are boosting with EQ a lot, you're probably doing something wrong. I mean, straight up, the recording's bad. You're trying to fix a problem, right? But usually you're cutting. Get rid of stuff. Use compression for color. Use, harmonics. Drive stuff. That's the way I mix, at least. So I don't know about you guys. So RVOCs. Now we're gonna hit this. RVOCs is amazing. These R series, the Renaissance series from Waves, it's just such good stuff. I can't get away from it because it's so classic and it's so good. It's so useful, right? So the RVOCs, for me, it brings that proximity effect in, right? That, yeah. It like gets big again, which it like thickens out. So as I cut 400, as I compress again, bring 400 back up, and then I cut 400 again, and I push a little bit of that 140, RVOCs is then going to give me a little bit of that 90 to like 200. It's going to like push that oomph back in there. And I'm going to A-B this for you because it doesn't take much of the RVOCs to really do that. And then you can see I'm bringing the gain down. So gain structure really important as I go throughout these processes. So I'll play this for you on and off.
Cartier frames, I see you. If I was in your place, I'd try me too. Pull up with a couple like my name Lou. Doing so much, feel like deja vu. Wrist stay with Cartier frames, I see you. If I was in your place, I'd try me too. Pull up with a couple like my name Lou. Doing so much, feel like deja vu. Wrist stay wet, ain't nothing new. House on the hills, panoramic on the view. Pull up with a couple like my name Lou. Doing so much, feel like deja vu. I'ma need a check if I go out. Mortgage on my neck, gotta show out. She talk too much, keep the hoe out. Diamonds still shine when the lights out. Spin a nice piece on these frames.
Okay, so like for me, it sits into the track, it fills out, it doesn't sound all peaky, and if you have good listening environment, you're listening on good speakers, when I bypass it, the vocal actually goes up, okay? I hate that. I don't want my vocal going up. I want my vocal here in the middle and thick, you know what I'm saying? What's up? Shout out to Aaron, Philip Banks. We got the Beat Gang in the house. If you guys haven't joined the Beat Gang, ask these guys about it. Changing people's music businesses every day through that stuff. I do this stuff every week in the Beat Gang, okay? Thank you, Max Payne. I appreciate that. All right, so the RVOCs, like really what I'm doing here is I'm sitting the vocal in the track. It's thickening out. It has some like control, more control, but it's also thicker. It feels like it's glued to the track better, right? Now, the CLLA vocals, like Chris Lord-Alge, he's a genius with parallel stuff, okay? Like, he's just so good, right? So, if you understand this plugin, you understand that this is all parallel processing. This is not, I have a bass EQ and I'm boosting an EQ on bass and treble and I'm pushing some treble. This is all parallel. So, it's like you taking your vocal chain and pushing it over to an aux and then blending in this stuff, okay? Yeah, the vocals are super forward. I wanted like modern day like rap trap music, the vocals are on top of the mix. So this, you almost want like the vocals on top of the mix a little bit, but you still want them glued to the track, right? So that's kind of the vibe. All right, so this compress, this you're gonna see how crazy, like Chase the Connect. You wanna know why they're forward? Watch this. I'm gonna turn this compressor. This is parallel compression. I'm going to turn this on and off, and you're going to be like, whoa, where'd the vocals go? They're gone. They went to the back.
Cartier frames, I see you. If I was in your place, I'd try me too. Pull up with a couple like my name, Lou. Doing so much, feel like deja vu. Wrist stay wet, ain't nothing new. House on the hills, panoramic on the view. Pull up with a couple like my name, Lou. Doing so much, feel like deja vu. I'ma need a check if I go out. Mortgage on my neck, gotta show out. She talk too much, keep the whore out. Diamonds still shine when the lights out. Spin a nice piece on these frames. You only drop the top when it's nice out. I just took a trip out of Spain. Feeling like Kobe in the pain. Wrist stay wet like a lake. Too much gas, propane. Hood nigga like Lil Maine. Ain't no bus down plain Jane. Whole stay sprung T-Pain. Throw the money up, it's rain. Fucking on what's her name? Yeah. Cartier frames, I see you. If I was in your place, I'd try me too. Pull up with a couple like my name, Lou. Doing so much, feel like deja vu. Wrist stay wet, ain't nothing new. House on it.
This is also how you're going to make a track louder. It's just perceived loudness because you're parallel processing. So this sub gives me like a really nice body. It's weird to put a sub on vocals, but it's very like thickening without it sounding over processed, right? The wall, I went nuts on the compression on this vocal. I could have easily taken it to push and had like this really smooth, soft vocal. But again, I mix the way I mix. I want to put my color on things. I put my vibe on things, how I think they should sound, right? I want it cutty and spitty, and I want them to be taken seriously. I like that. Now, let him talk me off that cliff, right? Let the label talk me off the cliff. Let the management talk me off the cliff. I don't care. I'll help. I'll go right to where they wanted to go. But I want to be like, yo, this is what I envisioned for it. Okay? So mixing modern day is a lot of production. You're like literally producing. You're getting sonics. You're dialing in tones. You're dialing in the vibe of the record. Okay? Without a mix, if you guys are not paying for mixes from a great mixing engineer, you are missing out on, I'd say, 60% of what your music can be. That's it right there. I'll never take that back. All right, so stereo, I'm just bringing it a little bit width. Like, I want to show you what this does because it's pretty insane. And I use another stereo effect that I push the vocals to as well, but this is a really good one. But you can overdo it easily. I'll show you what I mean.
Cartier frames, I see you. If I was in your place, I'd try me too. Pull up with a couple like my name, Lou. Doing so much, feel like deja vu. Wrist stay wet, ain't nothing new. House on the hills, panoramic on the view. Pull up with a couple like my name, Lou. Doing so much, feel like deja vu. I'ma need a check if I go out. Mortgage on my neck, gotta show out. She talk too much, keep the whore out. Diamonds still shine when the lights out. Spin a nice piece on these frames. You only drop the top when it's nice out. I just took a trip out of Spain. Feeling like
Super important that you get that vocal more stereo, or else it sounds like this little pinny thing in the middle. And I'm not going to take a vocal seriously if it's a little tiny thing in the middle, you know? Like, I want it to be like, I want it to take up, I want it to be on top of the track. I want it to be serious. And that's, you got to be serious if you're talking about, you know, diamonds and pulling up in the whip and Cartier and all this stuff, like all these designers and stuff. Like, I'm not going to take you seriously if you sound like a little baby in the track. You know, you got this thin little vocal. It's just not the way it works, right? So that's the production in it. You gotta know what the vibe is, see the visual. Okay, again, here we are, right? Using another Pro Q3. And you see, like, I don't boost a lot with EQ. There's not a lot of boosting, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm dipping out this 870, which is basically where it's like that nasally stuff. I had to get rid of that. I need more of that gone. And here we go. Half a dB at 3K. Just a little, here I am. Hey, here I am. I'm right here. And then 13K, getting a little more air back in there. And then again, I'm boosting that body in there. Okay. And again, I'm clearing everything out because after compression and all that stuff comes back around, the low stuff, right? So you got to always be making room, make more room for voltage to hit the next stage to get a loud record. That's how it works. All right. And then I love the Blue Stripe 1176. It is just so nice. It's so sweet. It fattens everything up. It's just a beautiful compressor. You guys take 2 seconds, throw some thumbs up, give some love on this thing. Appreciate you, Philip Banks. Thanks for the comments, man. Yeah, nice spread. Nice spread, baby. Sorry, that was weird. All right, so Blue Stripe 4-to-1. Screenshot that EQ for sure. And then I'm just pushing in. You'll see the compression here, and I'll bypass this in and out.
Cartier frames, I see you. If I was in your place, I'd try me too. Pull up with a couple like my name, Lou. Doing so much, feel like Dejavu. Wrist stay wet, ain't nothing new. House on the hills, panoramic on the view. Pull up with a couple like my name, Lou. Doing so much, feel like Dejavu.
I mean, wow, right? It's like you got this big, like, wobbly, it's all over the place kind of vocal, taking up the stereo and doing all this weird stuff to like centered, tight, focused, thick, nice color to it, and just controlled, you know? I mean, it's rap music. We gotta control it. We gotta get that shit like under control and shape it how you want to shape it, right? Okay, just some delay throws. I'll show you guys exactly where those are going. I have a couple delays that are pretty typical to my workflow and what we do at Radium. Kevin kind of set these up. These are kind of just like, mod delay, simple stuff, right? So we just have mod delay, very basic. What do you have, like a 16th note, quarter note there? Yeah, so we're just doing like a little groove, like you have a little left and right action going on. Little feedback, easy peasy stuff. And then we got an REQ where I'm just filtering everything out because the delays are just kind of a stereo radio effect, right? Piece of cake, really simple. That goes to a fattening bus. The main vocal goes to the fattening bus as well. Fattening bus is really important to making the vocal more stereo, thickening out in the center. And that's a doubler. That's the Q4, getting rid of anything at the bottom. Don't really need it. And a little S1 imager, just pushing a little bit of width. We're not like pushing it to the extreme. We're going 2 times width. So that's a great plugin. I don't really use this as much anymore. I'd say that this was just kind of set up by Kev after a long time, but I like using the P22 or what is it, PS, the Waves one. There's I forget what it's called, but it's like a pitch one. Let's see, 22, I think. Yeah, PS22. So I like using this. I think this is a really cool spreader. And there's some really great presets just to get started, like if you want to go like mono to wide with Dave Pensato. And then usually I'll take the low frequency spread and I'll take that and I won't spread the low frequency just because I want like the low end to be in the middle and centered. And then you can kind of pick your frequency where you want to start spreading. So I like this one. Sometimes I'll do 2 in a row and I'll pick like one for the top and then one for the mid range. And that just kind of like, it gives me enough spreading that it like gets rid of any artifacts or any weird, comb filtering, etc. So I like that one better than I like the S1 imager. Just personal preference, but I'm showing you guys that bus because this is being used in this session. Okay, and then the lead vocal, so that's going to those delays. Delay 2, I'll show you what that is. That's just the H delay. 16th note H delay, little feedback, 100% wet. And then we have a little low pass. Yeah, so this is more like for the high-end stuff, right? A little splashy kind of delay. And then it's passing up to 201 or 207. So real basic, and that goes to all Vox. And some of these are delay throws. So, you know, there's like a delay throw here, which is this kind of like super tap delay. And then we have the R comp, which is compressing the delay to make it pop out a little bit more. And then we always, and I highly recommend you do this as well, anytime you use a delay, especially like a super tap or like a mod delay or an H delay, something that has like where it modulates, it'll go out of pitch and it'll make the track sound like it's out of pitch. So we just add some auto tune so the delays are tuned up. Okay, and then the AIR chorus, I don't have this on right now. I didn't like what it was doing. E606, we're going into, again, radio effect, right? So just radio effecting, and then the rap verb, really important. Love this EMT 140, Wendy Carlos, really great altiverb setting. You can also use like the EMT 140 by UAD. Any plate reverb, really. I like the Waves plates as well. Those are really good, the Abbey Road ones. Just trying to give you guys some game. I don't know if everyone can afford a $600 to $800 reverb plugin, right? So the Waves Abbey Road plates, this is a really good plugin. I think this is great. It can get really noisy if you're not careful with it, so just make sure you turn off all the noise stuff. You know, like this analog and the drive and all that. But this is a good one. I like this one. I like the Chambers one even better. So just giving you guys some of that stuff because, you know, why not? I just want you to know you don't have to have all these plugins. You don't have to go out and buy a bunch of plugins. Super, super important. All right, yeah, tuning the delays is super important, man. Because you get delays like, oh, yeah, you know, like go out of pitch, just makes this track sound really whack. So tuning delays is a cool idea. Kevin came up with that, and I was like, yo, that's great. Love it. So there we go. That's rap verb. So you got the delay 2, rap verb, and the fattening. Okay, and I'll show you what these are doing as I play this vocal as well.
Cartier frames, I see you. If I was in your place, I'd try me too. Pull up with a couple like my name Lou. Doing so much, feel like Dejavu. Wrist stay wet, ain't nothing new. House on the hills, panoramic on the view. Pull up with a couple like my name Lou. Doing so much, feel like Dejavu. Cartier frames, I see you. If I was in your place, I'd try me too. Pull up with a couple like my name Lou. Doing so much, feel like Dejavu. Wrist stay wet, ain't nothing new. House on the hills, panoramic on the view. Pull up with a couple like my name Lou. Doing so much, feel like Dejavu. I'ma need a check if I go out. Mortgage on my neck, gotta show out. She talk too much, keep the hoe out. Diamonds still shine when the lights out. Spin a nice piece on these frames. You only drop the top when it's nice out. I just took a trip out of Spain. Feeling like Kobe in the pain. Rich stay.
So it's like really important that you understand that delays and reverbs can be EQ, right? So I use delays and reverbs a lot for EQ. Like I get my vocal how I want it, like fat and everything, and then I can get top and I can get more mid-range and I can get the back of the wall and I can get more spatial stuff by using delays, using reverbs, things like that. Because you're actually like, you're EQing, right? You're hearing a different frequency bounce off of walls or different textures. Steel versus wood versus iron versus a plate versus a chamber versus tile, you know, whatever you're using, different surfaces are going to sound different, right? Yeah, big difference because all of a sudden the vocal sounds like it goes like, I just got a vocal and it's here, to like, it's got a life, and there's like background and there's depth and there's like perception of like where his vocal is compared to like what room he's in and how big it is, right? Makes the track bigger. So always use like these delays. They're fast delays, you know, 16th note delays. A lot of the times I'll use pre-delay as well. Like a really great thing you can do is like, for example, these Valhalla plugins are amazing. They're very cheap if you just want to, you know, grab something really affordable. But what you can do, and I'll just show you this by turning these delays off, and I'll show you what you can do to get like a pre-delay sound. And this is awesome because it has a mix knob, so I can put it as an insert. But I'll just show you how you can get a little bit of a pre-delay using whatever, right?
If I was in your place, I'd try me too. Pull up with a couple like my name Lou. Doing so much, feel like Dejavu. Wrist stay wet, ain't nothing new. House on the hills, panoramic on the view. Pull up with a couple like my name Lou. Doing so much.
Hey, super simple. Use pre-delays. Don't use big decays. This right here, this is an amateur move. This is what amateurs do when they don't know how to mix. They drench their shit in reverb. The reverb gets so big that it takes over everything. You can't hear anything else that's like sparkling or flying on the sides or in the background. It gets really congested. You get too much voltage hitting the different processors, going to the master. You can't get a loud record, and then you're pissed off because you don't know what you're doing, right? That's how you do it. You use pre-delays. You don't use tails of reverbs. That's how you get dimension, right? Think about if you're in a room and the space of the room, how big is the wall, right? You don't get this big like, ha. You get like a ha, 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 right? Gives you depth. It shows you where the first wall is. So use pre-delays. Very important, guys. I just want to show you guys that. Was that useful? You guys like that? Show me some thumbs up. Give me some reactions here, guys. I got 5 thumbs up. Like, damn. Working my ass off over here. Do I got to do a dance or some shit? No, I love you guys. I really appreciate you showing up. I know it's Friday night, 6:37. So I appreciate y'all being here. Seed Squatch in the house. What's happening? Okay, so that's it, right? Like the delays are really important. Going to give you space, going to give you depth. The rap verbs. Yeah, it's just like, it's super important to like think about everything. Think about like your width. Think about the depth, how far things are back, and think about like the height and the you know, the floor, right? You got to think about where you're placing things and how you're moving them, because you can really screw up a record if you don't know what you're doing. If you're just like, oh, it sounds exciting, I don't know what's going on, but you just like move the vocal to the roof, you know, you got to be careful. So that's the lead vocal. I'm going to kind of fly through these ad libs because they're not like crazy, but doubler is a big part of it, right? Get up and jiggle. You got it, Seat Squatch. Just got the jiggles, baby. All right, so ad libs. Here's just some ad lib stuff. I'll show you what we do here. They're usually got a distortion on there. I turned that off. Didn't want it. I didn't think it needed it. And this has got like a 1K just radio effect, and then it's going to a doubler. That's it, right? So I'll turn these on and off, and I'll show you the ad libs. Doubler is going to give it like, it's going to let it sit in the track a lot better.
If I was Cartier frames, I see Cartier frames, I see you. If I was in your place, I'd try me too. Pull up with a couple.
Okay, so that's a pretty typical process for me on my ad libs, my backgrounds. Anything is like, yeah, yeah, you know, like just little spot ad libs. That's what I do. This is typical practice, I think, just like radioing it out and then double, and then give it some delay, give it some verb, and then again, we're going to this fattening, we're sending to the fattening, okay? And the reverb and the delay again, so we're giving it some dimension. It's in the back. You want it to be, you know, you want to give it some depth. That's the idea. And these are really cool. Fuzz Rico, she actually wrote this, and she's super dope writer. She's the homie. Amazing. Very, very talented. And she's got her doubles on here, like just basically doubling up, punching little parts. So just listen to like the timbre of her voice and realize like why there's nothing here, right? Because she just sounds cool. She has like a really great timbre and it fits the track really well. So I'll just show you these soloed out.
I see you. Try me too. My name low, like Dejavu. Rich stay wet, ain't nothing new. House on the hill, panoramic on the view. Pull up with a couple like my name Lou. Do it so much, feel like Dejavu. Cartier frames, I see you. If I was in your place, I'd try me too. Pull up with a couple like my name Lou. Do it so much, feel like Dejavu. Rich stay wet, ain't nothing new. House on the hills, panoramic on the view. Pull up with a couple like my name Lou. Do it so much, feel like Dejavu.
So like without them, you're like, whoa, something's missing, right? And then with them, it's like it thickens out the vocal. It's taken more seriously. And these are all vocal aligned. They're auto aligned. So we use a couple tools here at Radium. I mean, we always use these tools, because getting doubles right is super important, especially if it's a different singer. So there's a couple tools we use, and they're not cheap, but that's why people hire us to mix and master, right? Because you could go out and you can buy every single one of these plugins and all the outboard and all the stuff that we've done, and it would cost you, the monitors, all the stuff we're doing, it would cost you $100,000, right? Easy. I mean, I probably have if I'm talking just effects plugins, I have at least like 25K in effects plugins, right? That I bought and that I can update. They're not cracks, so I'm not going to have any issues in the future. So here we go. So this is kind of like the idea is what we would do here is we would find this, and then we'd go to Audio Suite, and there's a plugin that I use all the time to make sure that everything's sample accurate with all the doubles. And that's going to be SoundRadix Auto Align Post. Now, the thing about Auto Align Post is that, first of all, it's expensive. Second of all, you only get one license for one computer with it. But third of all, it can do a dynamic mode or a static mode. And the dynamic mode will actually make up for differences in timing. So like if the microphone was moving or shifting or whatever, like if someone was doing this, right? And they were moving around and they were using two different mics and two different mics were doing different things, you can use the dynamic mode. If it's static, you just have someone in a booth and they're rapping, you just use static. But the way this works is you basically select the vocal that you're trying to, get the other vocal to be sample accurate to. So before we auto align, and this is all offline, so you can just render it and it's done, right? And then we listen to it and check it out. But before we auto align, we vocal align. And the vocal lining is actually going to stretch and time out doubles, right? So it fits the consonants and the vowels, but it doesn't do it sample accurate. So you get phasing artifacts, which a lot of engineers don't really pay attention to unless you've been doing this a long time. So you got to use auto align or auto align post to get it to be sample accurate, which is basically taking the phase, right, and lining them up perfectly. You're going to get artifacts with any of these processes: melodyning, auto-tuning, cleanup, RXing. So you have to have great monitoring. You have to have a great room. You have to have great headphones. You have to have a great ear. You have to be trained. And a lot of people have been doing this for maybe 3 years, and they got all these plugins, and you actually can ruin your records. And I did that for years, right? I ruined so many records. Like I got the Waves bundle, and it was like 12 years ago when I got the Waves bundle, and I would just go in and like throw plugins on everything. I'm like, yeah, it sounds awesome. Oh my God, this thing's crazy. But really I was just destroying records. I mean, I was learning like how to destroy records and what they were doing, but you really got to understand, like you got to have an ear for it. You got to know what good harmonics are and what bad harmonics are, what good compression is and what bad compression is, right? So just some de-essing on all of these, because fuzz definitely has like a lot of sibilants, like that kind of stuff. So we just try to kill that. And that's really it. Like this track is so basic when it comes to the vocals. So you guys have any questions at all? I mean, there's other ad-libs that are all printed and frozen, but they're basically the same thing, right? AAR distortion, E606 radio effect, and then the doubler, and then we're sending those. This is a basic record. It's a trap record. It just needs the vibe. It needed some edge to me. I wanted that vocal to be really important. I wanted it to be cutty, grimy, and kind of like something new. Everybody can make a smooth vocal and get a record pretty loud nowadays. I like to put my sound on stuff, right? That's what I do. So if you guys have any questions at all, I'm here to, answer questions. And also, I mean, this is a basic mix, basic session. The drums, the 808, that stuff was really the focus, and that's like the hard work that I had to do here to get this record really loud. And then the mastering stuff, right? But I went over all of this stuff in part 1, so go back on that video and check it out, because I went in detail on that bad boy. Like that was like over an hour of going through what I'm doing with all these processes, how I master, what I'm using, EQs, how I'm getting it louder, how I'm getting width, depth, punch, how I'm getting the drums to really stand up and pop out using different things like, harmonics, saturation, tube stuff, Shadow Hills, like compressors that have like really big pieces of hardware in them, right? Nickel, huge things that you're pushing sound through that's distorting it or harmonically, you know, saturating it. So that's it, guys. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, like the video, drop a comment. It helps us tremendously. The YouTube algorithm hates us unless you got like 1 million, you know, subscribers and you're like making videos every day and you're getting paid $1 million to be a YouTuber. They hate you. They just fucking put all your stuff at the bottom. So it helps us like crazy if you just like the actual video, not just in the chat, but like the actual video. Drop a comment, like what you like the most or any questions you guys have. And the more you can engage and like I can help you and show you some stuff, then the better, right? The better for us to get this video out here and get more of this stuff promoted, right? I noticed you didn't have to DS. Yeah, that's actually a really good you know, you're paying attention basically. But yeah, I didn't have to DS. This was already DS'd pretty well. So a lot of the times, like with DSing, I got to be really careful with DSing because I don't really want the S's to be, I don't want the tone of the vocal to get lost with a de-esser. So if I use a de-esser, I'm usually going to use it like at the beginning and the end of the chain. But I'll use something like the Eosis. I like this one a lot. So just to show you the de-essers I would use if I was going to use a de-esser. I like this one a lot. I think it's very good. Like you can go to vocal, you know, I usually do, where is it? Singing, I'll go like male singing. And then I'll take this down because what this is like a makeup on the high end, which I don't really like. I'd rather EQ my own high end back in. And then I mess with the sensitivity and the amount and then the smooth knob usually. And then I'll dry wet, like kind of blend it in. But I don't like to DS unless it's a total issue, right? This was not an issue. It was already DS'd as well. So Kevin ran it through RX. We DS'd it with RX isotope. But it didn't really like have a problem with the S's for me, right? So on the vocal bus, I think a lot of the S's are getting pretty controlled actually with this soothe. So, you know, you say I'm not DSing, but this is pretty much DSing in a very intelligent way. Okay. So this is actually like a multi-band. Here, I'll show you.
If I was in your place, I'd try me too. Pull up with a couple like my name, Lou. Doing so much, feel like Dejavu. Wrist stay wet, ain't nothing new. House on the hills, panoramic on the view. Pull up with a couple like my name, Lou. Doing so much, feel like Dejavu. I'ma need a check if I go out. Mortgage on my neck, gotta show out. She talk too much, keep the whole out. Diamonds still shine when the lights out. Spin a nice piece on these frames. You only drop the top when
So there you go, Chase. I actually did DS. I just did it a different way. So yeah, DSing, I think, like if you get too obsessed with the S's, you might lose the vibe of the record. You might lose the top end of the vocals. I'm really careful with DSing. I don't really do much of it. I'll do it up front. Like we go through a process of editing with every track. So we RX, we denoise, we mouth click. We get rid of all that shit. We go in detail and fade every single thing. You know, the process of mixing and mastering today is not just like, yo, I'm going to go, you know, mix and master. It's editing, it's tuning, it's vocal lining, it's auto aligning, it's RXing, demouth clicking, denoising, declipping, declicking, de-essing, basically cleaning everything up from the beginning to get a really, really clean vocal because the vocals are so important. Even de-breathing, like, because sometimes, you know, when you start compressing, you know, and if you're an amateur rapper or singer, God, it's way worse. Like, I've had to de-breath the crap out of people, right? Sometimes just like, you're like de-breathing, meaning like I'll turn the breaths way, 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 way down so that when I'm compressing the vocals and they come back up, they're at like a decent, you know, tone. But if you're a rapper or you're a singer, just make sure you're taking those breaths on beat. You know, like it's very basic. I came up with drums, so it's not hard for me to like, you know, catch the beat like on anything. And I think if you're a rapper, you should definitely not have a problem catching a beat. But yeah, that's the de-essing right there with Soothe 2. And then this FG Gray, because the attack's so fast, it catches a lot of that stuff as well. So that's it. And then the Pro Q3 is taking out some of this 2 and a lot of this, well, you know, a little bit of that 6600, which you can get a lot of S's in there. But I think his S's were like here and up at like 8K or so. So that's it. De-essing it was. Or de-essed it was de-essed. So yeah, any other questions, you guys? I mean, obviously in part 1, I answered a lot of this stuff and I went through the drums, the 808s, all that stuff. But I hope you guys really like this. And if you did, drop a like, subscribe to the channel. Go check out the Radium podcast. There's links in the description as well. If you guys are looking to up your game in vocal mixing, we have a vocal mixing masterclass where Kevin goes from the very beginning of edits and the RXing and everything all the way to the final master. So of just vocals, like it's very vocal centric on this masterclass. We also have a beat mixing masterclass. I highly recommend those. They're $20 a pop. They come with some bonuses as well. But click that link, grab that, pick it up. And if you are looking to build your music business, like you're very serious about it and you're kind of plateaued, you're not really making any money off your music, then join the Beat Gang, because that's what it's about. It's about teaching you guys strategies to build your business. I took Radium when we first started. I took it from 0, nothing at all, to 6 figures a year within about 8 to 9 months of starting Radium. So, you know, I have some things to say about music and music business. We've been around for 3.5 years now. So that's it. We're doing well. We got a lot of clients, high-end and independent artists, independent producers. And, you know, there's just a lot of facets of the music industry that I think are really exciting. And I want to help people. So that's why we started the Beat Gang. And we want to get more members involved to not only grow the network, to show you guys like how to monetize your music. We talk a lot about sync licensing. We do briefs for sync licensing. I don't want to take your music that you already have and go sync it. I think if you want to do that, just go find a music supervisor or a music manager. But this group is more about like, hey, let's write for briefs. Let's get your level of like expertise up. Let's get you able to write, arrange, produce, mix, master something all the way through to where it can be synced, right? Because a lot of artists and producers, they may be good at like a couple things, but they're not good at mixing, or, you know, they're really great at writing songs, but they suck at arrangement, or they're bad at recording, you know? So I'm trying to like kind of just help more people. That's kind of the idea. I want a family, a group of people that are going to have a lot of success and that we can share successes with, and I can make them money, right? So that's the plan. Thank you, David. Thanks for showing up, bro. Appreciate all you guys and girls, if we got any girls in here. And yeah, just drop a comment, show some love on the video, and that's all I ask of you guys. That's about an hour of my time, and, you know, I'm happy to share with you guys. So enjoy. If you got any questions, drop them in the comments as well. Have a great Friday night. Party your face off, or, you know, pick up some rest. I don't know. That's all I got for y'all. Peace out.